Welcome to the Single Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Natalie. Thank you again. Welcome to the Single Parent Podcast, where we not only discuss the ups and downs, ins and outs of single parenthood, but how we support one another along the way in order to develop and maintain healthy relationships. I'm your host, Natalie. Thank you for tuning in again. Today, we're going to discuss can you be in a relationship and be a single parent at the same time? This stemmed from the fact that I had gotten a question a while back. How will you continue the podcast once you're in a relationship? And the crazy thing about it is the simple answer is I've been a single parent for a while now. I'm not sure if you heard it from the previous video, but I have 3 children. One is 23, the other one is 16, and my youngest is 6. And so definitely with my oldest, my second set of children's dad didn't come into the picture until he was about 6 years old. So that means that I was a single parent for 6 years prior to that. And so obviously I'm not gloating about it, but I also, was a single parent throughout my journey. I was off and on with my kid's dad. So that played into it, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Before we continue, do me a favor. I know you've been watching my videos and I know you've been getting a little bit out of it. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and tell other people about the podcast. Again, we're not just talking about being a single parent. We're talking about a vast majority of topics, as you can see, and many more to come. So hit subscribe, like, share, comment. Thank you. Moving along. So you know me, I'm real nosy and I like to research. So I looked up the definition of a single parent. So a legal term is A, an unmarried, legally separated from the spouse, parent. B, this is a definition saying that this person has one or more minor children for whom the individual has sole custody or joint custody. So whether you are a parent who has full custody of your children and they're living with you, or you have joint custody where they're with you half of the time, that's also considered a single parent. Study.com says a parent raising a child on their own without another person in the household helping out. And I really like that definition because I feel like that's so spot on. I could be in a relationship, let's say, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not still a single parent in most or a lot, some ways. And I think that, again, being in a relationship doesn't mean that that person is going to immediately take on the responsibility of your children with another parent, right? Because ideally it should be the other parent's responsibility over your new partner. It's funny because with my second set of kids' dads, my second and third child, their father, I still felt, again, like a single parent. He was also absent a few times throughout our relationship, and him being a parent, right? He was incarcerated a few times during my kids' lives. And so how can you really be a parent at that point? Especially in the way in which I need you to be. And I also suffered through that experience as well, just as he did, and primarily as the sole parent. Even if he wanted to be there for them, and there was times that he showed an enormous amount of, effort, and I can never take that away from him. The fact of the matter is he was not physically able to be there for his kids the way that I know that he could be and the way that I know he wanted to be, and that is a fact. However, doesn't negate the fact that I was still a single parent several times. We agree to disagree on that. Again, let him tell it. I wasn't a single parent because he was still there and present and all of that. And yes, you were, as much as you can be, though. There was no way, again, that you could be as present as I was, unfortunately. In terms of my oldest son and my second, kid's dad, yes, while they developed a wonderful relationship and he definitely gravitated towards him as a second dad, it didn't take the fact away from the fact that I still parented my oldest by myself his whole childhood. And so I still felt like a single parent in a lot of ways, in a lot of instances, even when I had my second kid's dad around and, helping out. Because again, the responsibility fell on the other co-parent. And even though I had someone there trying to fill that void and trying to fill that hole, which was very much appreciated, it still doesn't take away from the fact that he had another parent that was also responsible for him, just like I was. Um, in a current relationship, let's say hypothetically, I was in a current relationship. Um, if we don't live together, I feel like you're still technically a single parent. And depending on the dynamics, whether or not that person may have a child, they may be a single parent or they may be a co parent. And just because we're in a relationship and I may help them out and vice versa here or there, again, I'm not solely, partly responsible for that other child the way my boyfriend is. And so yes, I would feel like even if I was currently in a relationship, I would still feel like a single parent in a lot of ways. And that doesn't take away from the effort, again, of my partner. Even after, we live together, even after we get married, right? My kids still have another parent outside of my household, outside of myself and my husband, and even his children. When you have co-parenting relationships and dynamics, there's so many different things involved. And they look so many different ways, right? Never take for granted what a healthy family dynamic looks like. No one can give you that. No one can tell you what that is supposed to look like. Whether I'm an actual single parent, still current in the future, I still have past and current experiences as a parent, period. Parenting isn't easy, but I think that once I started digging deep within myself and trying to figure out, okay, from my past childhood experiences, what am I carrying into this current journey of parenthood and relationships that I'm building with my children? What can I bring along the journey? What do I need to leave where it needs to be, which is in the past? And so I've learned to embrace, this whole single parenthood journey. And I've learned to learn from every little piece and every little person that comes along the way, including my children, believe it or not. And so, again, this is not just single parenthood. This is parenthood as a whole. This is also growing up and having parents that both nurtured and or may have traumatized you a little bit, and that's okay. This is why we're talking about it and we're having such transparent conversations, because while I'm a single parent today, hopefully I won't be a single parent, in the near future. Who's to say? Who's to say anybody's journey? Can't nobody give that to you. Just remember that. Some of the biggest, lessons I've learned about being a single parent, again, and I'm going to repeat it from before, is putting me first. I used to put my kids first before everything, my feelings, my thoughts, my wants, my needs. And I'm learning it's okay for my kids to see me, want to do things for myself consistently, hold my word to myself valuable, and I follow through on the things I say that I'm going to do for me. Not saying fuck these kids, fuck them kids. At the end of the day, it's not said in malice, right? It's said to encourage you to, think more selfishly. Think about how it is on this single parenthood. So that way, when you do get into a relationship and you hopefully are on the path of no longer being a single parent, that you're still able to carry all of these life lessons with you along the way. So I definitely want to say I appreciate all of you guys watching. Every question, every comment, every motivational, speech or paragraph that you give to me. I'm so very grateful. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Single Parent Podcast. as well as a Facebook page, The Single Parent Podcast, and my YouTube channel, The Single Parent Podcast. Again, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share, especially if you're hearing something that you agree with. And if you don't, comment below. What don't you agree with, boo? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all entitled to our own opinions, and I firmly respect them. So let's friendly debate then. But in the meantime, join me again on the next Single Parent Podcast.